Hey, want to make sure you check out the description below because there may be a free class code in there and you don't want to miss out on that. So we're going to be going over how to pace yourself in the first week or first 2 weeks of belly dance class. So if you've already started, no worries. These are just some tips and ideas to keep in mind while you're dancing. One of the things that's really important to do before you even step into class is to set an expectation for yourself. How much time do you have to dedicate to class going every week? Are you going once a week? Are you going 2 times a week, 3 times a week? That's something you want to keep in mind when you're just starting. A lot of people naturally will just take one class to kind of gauge how it is, how their body's feeling and all that good stuff. But you definitely want to set that expectation for yourself of how much time can you dedicate towards going to class. Another thing that you want to set an expectation on is how much time do you have to practice in between classes. So this is your first week or maybe the first 2 weeks, and maybe you're just doing one class per week. How much time do you have in between the classes to review the material? This is really important because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. As excited as you are to get in your room and practice and all that good stuff, but we honestly want to be realistic. We don't want to set ourselves up to be disappointed or to be interrupted in our practice when we're like, I forgot, I have to make dinner. Oh yeah, I have to study for this. Oh yeah, I have to do this work and all this stuff. And all that stuff comes up. So we want to make sure how much time are you wanting to dedicate in between the classes. Depending on the time that you may have allocated to practice in between classes, this is one thing you want to keep in mind when you're kind of looking at your schedule. So we talked about expectations, kind of what are you thinking about your class, how much time you want to dedicate it to it. Are you doing other physical activities that compounded it could be too much? You want to think about all these things, right? So let's say you're thinking about your schedule. And in the first week, you are super excited, but we need to pace ourselves. This is really important because you don't want to get overwhelmed or feel like you suck at belly dancing or feel like you're amazing and then all of a sudden take on 18 hours a week of dancing and you don't understand what's going on really with your body, but you're just excited to be moving. So we want to pace ourselves accordingly. So one thing that you want to keep in mind in pacing yourself, especially if you have not moved before, is you need to set up some time in your practice, whether it's 15 minutes, 5 minutes that you have dedicated in that 15-minute or 5-minute, dedicate some time to warm up. You need some time to open up your body, awaken it, keep it alive, and keep it safe and protect it. This is super important. So you want to make sure that there's time to warm up, as well as in the same practice time, you want to make sure that there's time to cool down. Like I said, if you haven't moved this way with your body before, or you haven't moved at all in a while, because let's face it, sometimes our exercise routines go to the wayside, we want to make sure we're taking care of our body and giving it what it needs. So a lot of the time we have all these contraction movements and isolations that happen in belly dance, or you're like really overworking, trying to isolate that one muscle, especially in your first class, or even just learning about posture, right? All of this takes so much muscle to do and also body awareness. And that, believe me, is exhausting. So when you're dancing, we want to warm up the body, and then we want to be able to cool it down afterwards. So your practice time may be less than what you think if you incorporate the warm up and the cool down. So if you're pacing yourself and really allowing yourself to take your time from the beginning of this week to the following week that you take class again, warm up your body, because this is kind of what you're going to do in class as well. So you're almost replicating what's going to happen in class, but you're going to take care of your body by warming up, doing a little bit of movement, and then cooling down. So make sure, in order to take care of yourself and not overwork the body in that 1 week or even the first 2 weeks, set those moments in there to warm up and cool down. You're super excited. You got your practice time set aside. You're like, yes, realistically, maybe you have 15 minutes in that week. This happens all the time. There is no reason why you should feel that you should practice every single day or even for hours at a time. That just isn't realistic. And it's not fair to expect that of yourself, especially when you're just starting out. So in order to give yourself a good, gentle momentum and ramping up into what your dance may look like on down the road, we want to be gentle in setting our goals. So in your practice, let's say you have that 15 minutes in 1 week. Set one goal, or if you're taking an online class, have yourself do one class, and that is it. Be very specific about that goal, so that way you allow yourself to fully concentrate on that and nothing else. Because in your first class, you may go over many details, and it can be overwhelming to think that you have to practice all of those before you get to the next class. So choose one thing. Let's say you went over posture, or you went over hip drops. What you're going to allow yourself to do is that one goal, which may be, I just want to practice lifting my chest. I just want to practice keeping my shoulders down and relaxed because I'm stressed all the time because there's a lot going on in my life, right? So maybe it's just that. And you practice standing there and allowing your body to settle in and adjust. If you start doing all this stuff to your body, one, you probably cramp up, especially if you don't warm up and cool down. You're going to get physically overwhelmed and you're going to start cramping anyway, or you're going to feel achy, pull a muscle, get emotionally stressed, feel like this is too much. It's not fun anymore, blah, blah, blah. Believe me, it happens, right? So I know you're excited and it seems like, oh, just one, oh man. But I tell you what, if your goal is you're invested in really learning belly dancing, learning rock, sharky, oriental dance, then you will take your time and know that this is a process. There's no rush to get everything done in the first week. And believe me, it actually is counterproductive for you to do so. So choose that one goal, whether it's, you know what, I'm just going to make sure that I can stand on my leg and push my hip down without having my head bounce. It could be that from your first class, and that's totally okay. And you're going to allow yourself to have that one singular focus, and that's it. If you're taking a class and you're not sure what to study, class online, and you're not sure what to study because it's not live feedback, then you can always message your instructor and ask, what is it that I should be practicing this week? So that way I am prepared for the next week, but also your teacher knows that you are just starting out. So that means they can give you appropriate work for that time period. Okay. The other thing too is if you are taking an online class, you can get a lot of the information from there and you can always rewind, right? So let's say you don't have only 15 minutes in that week. You have maybe 3 days where you can do 30 minutes. So you're going to take one little snippet from the online class that you did and allow yourself to watch it and rewind, watch it and rewind, watch it and rewind, go take a break and then come back, watch it and rewind. And I say watch it and rewind because if you don't have a live instructor or experience, what's going to happen is you need to probably see it more than once. So you want to account for that and be okay with the one goal in that one class in that moment and practicing that one thing over and over again. And when you feel you start to get overwhelmed, you stop. You take a break, take a deep breath, walk away, go get some water, go get a snack, walk outside. There's plenty of other things to do, right? But you're going to allow yourself that moment to just focus on that one thing, and that's it. And then that next day that you have 30 minutes of practice again, then you will still go to that exact same class. Don't take another class, right? Just one class. And you can either go back to that same element or choose something that you feel is easy, quote unquote, that's subjective, easy for you to get. So there's some sense of accomplishment, but you definitely don't want to do anything that is heavily going to impact your body in such a way that you are now exhausted emotionally and physically and mentally, as well as lack now the motivation to keep going. With choosing the one goal, allowing yourself to pace your information, things will come up for you at different times. So if you allow yourself to focus on one piece of information for an entire week, and of course you'll naturally like squirrel and have this thought and this thought and this thought about class and, movement, and you might try a little bit, while you're driving the car, be careful. And, like you're cooking in the kitchen or showering or whatever, then that's totally fine because those are impromptu moments where you're inspired. But one thing you want to keep in mind is the more you allow yourself to focus on one thing, the more you're able to process the material. And with that, you get to dive deeper into it and different questions will come up. I've had people who are intermediate advanced students tell me, oh my God, I never thought about it like that, or I didn't give myself a chance to think about it. My beginning class was like boom, 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 and it kind of just flew through the basics. No. Don't worry about trying to get all of it done. Remember, we talked about this is a process and it's a long-term investment for you. And so you want to be able to process that and give yourself time, and knowing that you have the permission from someone who's a teacher to take your time and really absorb the information. And when you do that, you don't feel overwhelmed, and it's a nice, gentle entry into learning Rock Sharky. I've seen this happen many times where people come in for the first time and they're super excited, which I love. Believe me, don't get me wrong. I love that they're super excited, but they want to do the most complicated move ever. And I'm like, let's rewind and actually see where you are in your technique, knowledge, all that stuff. Get a little bit of context going, and then let's move forward. So one of the things that helps you feel like you're really enjoying the process versus feeling pressured to be better or do more or whatnot, especially when you see other people in your class, is to allow yourself to dance simply. Meaning, if the class is, let's say you enter a beginning class, this is your first week of class, but you entered in the middle of a session, and you see all these other students doing all these really complicated movements, or seems like complicated movements, but all they're doing is hip drop with an arm. And you're like, like this, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Allow yourself to dance simply, right? This helps you enjoy the process of learning Rock Sharky. Choose one of those things. Remember when we talked about goals and choosing one singular focus? Be okay with not complicating your SHIT, right? So allow yourself to stand in your nice posture and focus on hip drops and how musically this can be enough. This can totally be enough. You don't want to overwhelm yourself by thinking you should be doing something else. It should be more. It should be layered. It should be as good as the other person. We don't want that, especially in your first week. So this is something you want to keep in mind when you're pacing yourself, because it's not only pacing yourself physically and making sure that, okay, you warmed up, you practiced, you cooled down, and then you do it again a little bit the next day or maybe 4 days later or something like that. It's not only physically you're pacing yourself, you're also mentally and emotionally pacing yourself as well. We don't want to start comparing to other people and thinking that you should do more than you really should be. And you want to honor where your body is at, where you are in your life, because some people have hours and hours to practice and some people literally have 30 minutes a week. And it doesn't matter, right? You want to do what's right for you. So in doing that, allow yourself to dance simply, to think simply about the movement, and to enjoy the process. It should always be enjoyable for you. Otherwise, why are you dancing? So make sure when you're pacing yourself, if you notice that you're getting stressed out, take a step back, allow yourself to stop, and ask yourself, what's going on that I'm getting overwhelmed and it's week 1 or week 2? We want to make sure that, especially at this point, you are enjoying yourself, because that's what's going to keep you coming back. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please make sure you do so you get all the ding, ding, ding notifications. And don't forget to check out the description below with the free class code so you can check out my online classes.